Hey guys, how's it going? It's Shiba. I'm back from, I guess, a while now. It's been, today we're going to be talking about my thoughts on the second Grand Blue beta. I'm sure we have a video still up about our thoughts on the first beta. The first beta was a little bit rough around the edges, but of course I am a Grand Blue shill, so I still enjoyed the first beta. However, in retrospect, I hated the first beta. In comparison to this one, this is no longer the same video game. Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising Beta 2 is simply on a different level from the first beta. It is quite possibly one of the greatest games ever created. And I just want to preface everything I'm about to say with this beta was genuinely some of the most fun that I've had playing video games in probably the last 2 years. I mean, I think the last time that I had this much fun playing a game was whenever Elden Ring dropped. This game was incredible. I played 34 hours in the weekend, man. Oh my god, it was so fun. So I want to open up our video here with some of the positives that I thought about the game. Some of these carry over from the last beta, but just want to open up with some positive notes about the game. And the first one is that the new art style, I think it's an upgrade. It's so pretty. I don't know. The characters, they look cleaner, if that makes any sense. Like, I guess the last game really had much stronger lines than the new game does, and the new game, the line art parts of the models, right, doesn't look quite as pronounced. In the last game, there was actually a mod that you could download that would remove the outlines, like the line art from the characters, and it actually made the game they don't look the same, of course, but they do look a little similar there. You can see that I'm sure it wasn't based off of the mod, but you could definitely see some similarities there. And I generally prefer the new look for the game as opposed to the old one. I know some people don't like some of the new faces. I know Zeta's face definitely took some big changes going to the new art style, but I think overall it's just a big upgrade, I think. The next thing is probably the biggest one. Of course, the biggest one. It was arguably what killed the last game. The rollback works. It's, I can't speak too specifically about what exactly caused the matches that I had break down. We'll get into some of those things later. Actually, it's a con, I would say. But the match, I have a friend. For those of you who don't know, I'm East Coast. I have a friend who lives in Hawaii. We both use Ethernet. He's got 195 ping to me. I had no issue playing him whatsoever at all, even in the slightest. I played people who I know are on West Coast, had zero issues whatsoever at all playing the game. It just works. Assuming that both computers are, up to snuff, and the people I was playing with, I knew they were on Ethernet, so I did not do too much Wi-Fi testing, mainly because I wanted to test the game how I'd be playing it with Ethernet in its ideal play condition. There were a couple of spotty matches, though, that I don't think are necessarily related to the rollback implementation itself. The beta was crossplay, as everybody knows, and I don't know. Actually, there might have been a way to tell if you were playing against somebody on PC or console. I didn't notice too much the difference. However, there were certain players I would run into where specifically after like a counter hit or an ultimate skill, it would cause the netcode to kind of break down a little bit. It would freeze whenever this ultimate skill hit. You could tell that somebody's getting a frame drop. I know it's not me, but you could tell somebody's getting a frame drop, and whenever that happens, the netcode did take a bit to catch back up. And of course, I did also just because I played so many matches. I did run into a couple of matches that were completely unplayable, but for the most part, anybody who had an Ethernet cable, basically no matter the distance, I was able to play with. So 2 thumbs up to the netcode. Granblue is saved. Another small thing that I did like about the game, I guess it really doesn't go noticed, but the character select screen is really good. Maybe it's because it's like a fighting game that comes out and it's just got a bunch of characters. It's not the original game's pitiful starting roster, to be frank. I mean, let's be real. The first game did not have a lot of characters on launch. Thankfully, Narmaya was there, but yeah, the first game definitely was a bit lacking in roster size, and the new game definitely does not have that because they carried over, as everybody knows, all of the characters from the previous games. They added like 4 or 5 more new characters. So yeah, no issues there, and it worked. It looks pretty, and the main thing is one of the small things that may go unnoticed for some, but I think was huge, is that there's difficulty ratings for all of the characters. You can see 1 to 5 stars for every character, and I think they're pretty accurate. Some of the ones in Guilty Gear Strive is the same thing. Strives are kind of questionable, but I feel like Granblue's just kind of lined up a little bit more accurately. Maybe that was because in Granblue, there's no special moves, so there's no mechanical difficulty to most of the characters, and because of that, people are playing at the quote-unquote high level a little faster. But I just generally felt like the difficulty rating on the character select screen was pretty accurate, and that's a good thing, especially for a game that's supposed to be beginner targeted. And the last positive that I wanted to mention here is just that the game's not huge. I think the beta was only like 9 gig or something, and it's it really felt good looking at that and downloading it instantly after getting off of Black Ops 3 with my 900 gigabyte file size because I have mods. Yeah, just nice and small game. Little things go a long way. I know that's because their engine doesn't use like real texture work, I guess. It uses like special texture work that makes the file sizes really small. But that was a plus for me. And that's going to kind of end our positive gushing. We want to get that out of the way. After all, this is a critique of the game. And we do have things that need fine-tuning. Want to reiterate, the game as is could have launched that same day and nobody would have said a word, right? It would have came around eventually. Maybe some of these things that I mentioned will start to grate on people, but the game as was, incredible. And I want to start with the most important negative, the number one thing that needs changing in the game, I think. That's Dash Light. 66L, Dash Light, Soulfar / Universal Mechanic, Drive Rush, whatever you want to call it, this has got to go, man. In the current state of the move, it defines the metagame. It is the number one move in every character's arsenal. It is ridiculous. It's fast. It's plus. It combos on counter hit. Pretty sure it combos on hit too, at least some of them. Has insane reach and the most egregious part, I think, is the low total duration. I had multiple instances online where I would just whiff Dash Light in somebody's face and stick out a far medium, and it would just work. The Dash Light would, especially Narmaya's, would like to also preface, I played Narmaya for the vast majority of the beta. I also did a little bit of Eustace as well. Narmaya, though, was like 95% probably of my playtime. This thing just, you could whiff it in somebody's face and then press a medium button after, and you would still hit them before they could react. It is crazy how fast this thing is. I've literally seen it safe jump supers, man. When people use it meaty, it's got to go. And I did have a couple of instances where I had unique interactions that spawned from this tool being so strong. A lot of Okiwaza in the Oki game, or in the neutral game, where we're just sitting there, kind of just whiffing, you know, 5M in neutral, trying to stuff a dash light jump in. Especially with the Seox player here, the background gameplay is the Seox player that I played. Had a blast playing him. It was a really fun set, or really fun 3 sets, I guess. But the yeah, this was kind of the set where I started to realize, like, hey, maybe this dash light stuff isn't quite as egregious as I thought it was. But yeah, the nerfs I kind of want to see are, I wanted to have slightly slower startup. It just starts up so fast. Less range and a slower recovery. I don't necessarily think that it needs to be worse on block or anything. Just more recovery, giving it a longer total duration would really prevent people from just whiffing this in neutral and seeing zero consequence. I honestly did not think it was that bad in the last beta. Did anybody like complain about dash light being super weak in the last beta? I thought it was like pretty okay. Maybe just going back to that would be good, but what do I know? Those are the buffs, or those are the nerfs that I want to see. Also potentially a buff to compensate for it. Maybe, you know, a little bit more damage, a little bit more consistent combo conversion, but it was just very, very safe and kind of did everything in the beta we played, and I don't necessarily think that's super healthy for the game. And not to mention, it also benefited certain characters to win more. It definitely benefited some characters more than others. Let's say Lancelot, Vera, and Anila very, very much benefited from this button being in the game. At least how I felt, you know, just me being a scrub, day negative. I don't know, we're like a month out from release. Thoughts on the balance of the game. Gonna try not to comment too much on the balance. We are, you know, we only did have like 4 days. Can't say too much about it. Another thing that I felt was a universal system mechanic that could use some tweaks was dash heavy. I feel like dash heavy, especially the existence dash light, was just kind of not super utilized. Most of them didn't really have super great range, I felt. They lacked range compared to running medium. Running medium tended to have a lot more range than the running heavies that I was using, or that I was seeing, and I just feel like it didn't really give enough reward on hit to be worth sticking out rather than doing other things, you know? So maybe some buffs to running heavy would be nice. And the main one that I would like to see would be to not necessarily change the archetype of the move. I just think it needs more reward on counter hit specifically, but also maybe some more reward on hit. Again, I didn't use it too much, so I'm not super confident in prescribing these buffs. But less knockback is kind of what I would like to see. So you can get close normal after, rather than having to do like a far normal into a special move, and that just like is it, you know. Close normal lets you do like auto combo into a raging chain and do a lot of fancier stuff off of something that used to know quite slow and can get stuffed out pretty easily. The next thing that is like a universal mechanic I'd like to see get some tweaks would be jumping. Jumping is not something that I super expected to be talking about, but I feel like the jumps are just a hair too slow. Again, I mentioned I played Narmaya for the vast majority of the beta, and if you know Narmaya, her super, her normal super, is probably one of the best anti-airs in the game. It is ridiculous. I have dozens of clips of me just sitting there in neutral, and I'll just tell the opponent to jump. Of course, they can't hear me, but I just say jump, and eventually they jump at me, and I just, bam, one button super. They're now missing a third of their life and a bravery point, and it's just the freest thing ever. It's beyond free. You don't even need to be looking for it to get this anti-air, because the hitbox is huge on it, right? And I'm not, again, not going to talk about that, but maybe that skews my bias a little bit. I feel like anti-airing was just a hair too easy to do on reaction. Maybe speeding up the jumps by like 5 or 10% would be make it a little less free to anti-air. People felt it was super ground focused, also probably because dash light was just such a great ground option. But yeah, the jumps, I don't know if you would tweak that by making them not jump as high, or maybe just making them fall faster. Whichever way, you know, I guess breaks the least number of other systems. But I do feel like jumps can maybe use a slight tweak. But that's not to say that like jumping is completely useless. There were definitely, especially Siegfried players, Siegfried's got really nasty jump in button. I don't actually know what it was, but it's a really nasty jump in button. I'd see a lot of Siegfried players, they get a really nicely spaced grappler jump, and it actually is hard to anti-air, even with the that super. I also have in my notes here that I felt like cross-ups were really strong. For certain cross-up moves like Grand's JU, Jita's JU, and whatever Siegfried's God air normal was, had very good cross-up hitboxes. I did see when I was watching other people play, they didn't have any issue anti-airing with normals on cross-up, and I know Narmaya's unsheathed 2H has no issue anti-airing cross-ups, but I felt like I had a lot of trouble, especially in the sheath stance anti-airing cross-ups, and I looked at some other characters, you know, 2H's, and it definitely did not look a whole lot easier to anti-air cross-up. So maybe, I don't know, something to tweak there. Just maybe it's nothing. Again, we only had 4 days. And then the last system change that I would like to see to the gameplay, and yes, that few, they being the nitpickiest person on the planet, only have like 4 changes to mention. The last system mechanic I'd like to see change, just a small one. After a Raging Strike, you can follow up with a Raging Chain for 25 meter. Also, after a Raging Strike, the opponent can spend 2 Bravery points to, you know, I guess effectively tech the Raging Strike. I feel like if you already commit to spending the meter for a Raging Chain and they do the tech, it should refund you the 25 meter. Or at the very least, not give you the meter penalty. I just feel like it's a bit too punishing, I guess, for it. It's a bit too punishing for them to tech it. You got, with the way I see it, if you connect the Raging Strike with the opponent, you did something right. And them teching it should not punish you by giving you a meter penalty and taking away 25% of your meter. It should punish them for getting hit, and thus they lose 1 extra bravery point. So they lose 2 as opposed to your 1. But right now, it honestly feels really good to tech the Raging Strike. Like it feels like it's pretty much free to do most of the time, especially if you have a super on deck afterwards to try to combo into to get your bravery points back. But that's it really for the gameplay changes. Overall, the base gameplay of the game, it was super fun. I felt it was pretty easy to follow along as well. Had no problem. I spent a lot of the beta teaching my normie friends how to play the game, and a lot of 2 of them in particular actually got like pretty good over the course of this beta. Like they definitely got a lot better than they were before, to the point where they're actually understanding like the fighting game, you know, the mental game, the mental side, the actual part that people care about. So yeah, gameplay overall was really great, but I feel like those tweaks could be potentially implemented for a smoother experience, I guess. I don't know. I'm just me, man. But now I want to talk about some things that I feel like are a little bit more objective, things that are missing from the game as a product, and things that I would very much like to see get fixed. I don't know if these necessarily affect it. Well, some of them obviously do. but I don't know if it's potentially like a PC thing, but I would like to see these changes come to the actual game itself. The first one, and this one probably may have just been excluded because it's a beta, they're testing the netcode, is please bring back the ping indicator in the lobbies. In the last game, you could see like people's connection in the lobbies before you matched up with them. I don't see any reason why this needs to go. In the last game, it was super necessary because the game had delay-based netcode. But now, because the game has rollback, that doesn't necessarily mean that this ping indicator is useless. It's still nice for people who are walking around the lobby with like 600 million ping. Like, you don't want to match up with them still. You'll still get bad connections and rollback. This would just lessen the number of them. Another thing that I would like to see is a Wi-Fi indicator. I don't recall Granblue Fantasy Versus having a Wi-Fi indicator. But certain games, of course, as we all know, have been implementing it. Some people think that it's controversial to implement. I don't see any problem with it. It's just, you know, if somebody does not want to play against somebody on Wi-Fi, I don't think you should force them to do it. Because in the end, they're just going to end up one-and-doneing them anyway. Like a Wi-Fi indicator is definitely in the question here. Probably would not be too hard to implement either. And there's so many ways around it nowadays. Like, please add a Wi-Fi indicator, Arxis. I'm begging. I'm begging. Please add a Wi-Fi indicator. The next thing that may be in the game on the release, not too sure, is frame data in training mode. The last game had the weird, like, red is negative, very red is very negative, blue is positive, very blue is super positive, and yellow is neutral. The last game had that system, but I would love to see actual frame data in the training mode. It is quite a bit of work, but it helps a lot, especially over their primitive, and to be frank, it looks a little ugly. The color system that they had in the previous game. Seeing actual frame data come to the training mode would be nice, especially, and the reason I think that it may get implemented is because they mentioned that some training mode features are locked behind the paid version of the game. On the website, if you look at like the chart that compares the free versus the paid versions of the game, it mentioned that certain training mode features are locked behind a paywall. Some notes out of Tekken's book with that one. Yeah, it's really looking forward to see what that free-to-play mode's all about, though. Hopefully it's not too watered down. Another thing that I would like to see is queuing from the lobby. So in Strive, if you're sitting at a solo arcade cab and somebody else in the lobby is also sitting at a solo arcade cab, y'all will just match up after 10 seconds. It'll just teleport you over to them and do that. Well, I don't necessarily think that needs to be implemented in Granblue. It's very clear that they want the lobby system to feel fleshed out and like lived in. I do think what would help would be to have some arcade cabs that you could just sit at and play randos. Like, you could just casual queue at an arcade cabinet. Maybe that's what those green arcade cabinets were for in the beta. You could not use those in the actual game, and they were solo cabs. So it does lead me to believe that maybe you could do that. Maybe it's for another game mode. Not too sure, but I do want there to be a way to just casual queue while you're in the lobby. I think that would be super nice. Because I did find myself leaving the lobby a lot to go casual queue if I took too long to find somebody. But then again, I also did enjoy sitting in the lobby, as I think the lobby is cool in this game. Not something that I mentioned in the positives, but the lobby system is pretty cool. Especially like the hidden arcade cabinets. Man, those were pretty sick, actually. Speaking of the lobby frame rate was not good. Please uncap it on PC or cap it at 60 FPS. Being capped at 30 FPS sucked. And the character select screen in the lobby ran in like a quarter speed, so it would take like forever to swap your character for some reason. Don't know if that was just a PC thing. Heard it was happening. The lobby frame rate was slow on PS4 too. Not sure if the character select problem was also on PlayStation, but the definitely want to see that lobby frame rate up there. And then the last thing, and I know this is a PC thing, is that the resolution, rather, not the frame rate, the resolution on PC was very low for whatever reason. The game looked very blurry and aliased, I guess. The issue ended up, the issue, I obviously cannot prescribe what exactly the issue was, but I know you could get around it, sort of, by going into the config file and increasing the resolution scaling from 100 to 200, which effectively doubles the resolution that you're rendering in. But of course, you can only render at your monitor's resolution. But that made the game look a lot better. I would like to see that just implemented into the game. Because you can do it in the config file, I assume that they'll add that to the game. It wouldn't be too hard to add, but that is definitely the only real complaint that I had with the PC version of the game, specifically over like the PlayStation versions or whatever else. And that kind of ends like the tech stuff that I would like to see get reworked there. The last thing that I've written down here is something that I feel like is kind of an accessibility thing. And that's mainly that the combo limit. I ran into it a couple times in the beta. Again, I played Narmaya, and when I was playing, I didn't like super optimize my combos. Like I didn't go out of my way to go look for optimals. I just kind of adapted what worked in the last game. But I found myself a couple times, especially if I would use Raging Chain in a combo, I would be just doing my normal combo, right? It'd just be working, and then I would do something, and they would just fall out. And it would say that the combo limit has been reached in the little, I guess, events kill feed thing, where it says, like, counter hit and, like, good. It says things like that, right? It would say combo limit in the little thing, so I've reached the combo limit. I would like to see under the combo counter, like where it says like 19 chain or however many hits you've done in the combo. I would love to see the combo limit like shown underneath that. Like let's say the combo limit, the juggle limit's 21, right? So the combo limit's 21. I would love to be able to see as the combo goes up that like a number ticking it, like it shows you a fraction, you're at like 17 out of 21, or maybe it's just a bar that's filling up. I know Skullgirls has like the their little meter thing that confused me, but you know, just like a bar under the combo counter that fills up, showing you how close you are to hitting the combo limit would be super helpful, because I definitely ate a couple of wake up normals trying to combo somebody, and I do my little DP at the end of the combo and it whiffs because I hit the combo limit, and they just wake up and counter hit me, and I'm like, damn, that sucked. But that kind of concludes my thoughts on the game. Again, you know, we said a lot of negative there. Of course we did. I am the most negative person on this planet when it comes to video games. But the game was super, super fun. Cannot wait till December 14th. And yeah, I have no real outro. Go play some Grand Blue when it comes out. Game's going to be free to play. See you, bye.